So good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Securiton webinar. Today, we will discuss how to carry out a basic configuration of Securiton SD detector. My name is Zino, and I work as a support engineer for Securiton International. So here we can see all models of our ASDs. They can all be configured locally via the easy config mode or via the PC using the ASD configuration software, except for the ASD531 model, which can only be configured locally via the easy config mode, this one. As you can see from this flow chart, we have two modes for configuring ASD detectors. We got the easy config mode, that is without the use of PC, but in this mode only EN54 configuration can be done. Or we can use our ASD pipe flow designing software and configuration software with the PC. In this way, we can design and configure both EN and NFPA72 solution. So in order to be able to use the easy config mode, so without the PC, we must necessarily have a symmetrical pipework, as in the picture. So there are therefore restrictions on the maximum number of holes, the maximum length of the pipes, as well as the use of accessories. With regard to accessories, only these models and combination can be used. For each tube network, we can use one filter box, DFU 911, and or two detector boxes, RE. Detector boxes are detectors that you can place directly on the pipes to detect the pipes. And we can use separately or in combination. The other way is to use one filter box, DFU 911, and or one water retaining box for humidity. In combination or alone. To use other type of pipes, for example, metallic pipe or like stainless steel or copper, or if you want to use other accessory parts, it is imperative that we use the ISD pipe flow calculation software. So we have to design with the software. Then we got also other restrictions. If you want to design a system for equipment monitoring, we must use SD pipe flow. Then, for example, if you got other application with the recirculation pipe, we need as well to use SD pipe flow. So what we can see in this picture, we got a different standard shape of a network. We got I shape, that is one pipe. We got U or T shape. We got H shape or E shape or WT shape if we got a two-channel version, so ASD 5352 or 5354. So this table shows the system limits for per type of configuration, so I, U, T, H, or E, and per detection class, A, B, C, according to EN54 part 20. It also shows the maximum number of holes allowed. So this table, for example, is for the SD535. If we get look, for example, to the class C, we can see for the I shape, we can have, for example, maximum 110 meters of pipe and maximum of 16 holes. If we give a look to the class A, for example, in I shape, we can have maximum of 50 meters and maximum of 7 holes. So everything is pre-configured. As you can see here, drilling diameters are given for each type of pipes configuration and number of holes. Of course, all this information can be found in the technical documentation for each ASD detector. Let's have a look here for the ASD 535 in this chart, for example, with the I-shape configuration. For example, if we are going to have like 3 holes, the diameter for the 3 holes will be the first 4 millimeter, the second 4 millimeter, and the last one 5 millimeter. So if we have a look, if we got 16 holes, we got these diameters. And the same for different shape. For example, U or T. This one is for every bunch. You see, we got different diameters. So let's see how is the commissioning process with the easy config for ASD 535, 533, 532. So at the beginning, we designed the system following the instruction into the manual. Then we switch on the ASD. The fan revs up stepwise to its defined speed. It will take more or less 100 seconds. Then we select the detection class ABC using the buttons and the 3-digit display on the motherboard as shown later. In the same way, we set the date and time, and finally we perform the initial reset, or let's call the flow. We made the flow setting. So at this point, the system is configured and ready to work, and the total time for this operation is about 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, we can commission the system with the easy config mode. So let's see how we do it with the ASD 535, 533, and 532. We use the 2 buttons on the motherboard and the 3-digit display. And then from here, it is possible to select all the parameters that we have seen in the previous slide. So again, for further information, you can read out the detector's technical documentation. As you can see, we can select from this display the class A, B, C, and with the sub-menus, A11, there are different sensitivity. We can also check the memory event. We can set the data and time, and we can perform the URES, that means is the initial reset for the flow setup. Okay, let's see how it is the commissioning process for the SD531, the smallest one. The procedure is very similar to other ASDs. The only difference is the way in which the parameters are entered. So again, we designed the system following the instruction in the manual. We switch on the ASD, fan revs up stepwise to its defined speed in about 100 seconds. Then we select the detection class, A, B, or C, and the number of holes using the 2 rotary switches called class and holes on the motherboard, as shown later. Then we set the tolerance threshold for the airflow monitoring by using a dip switch named airflow. As per default, is set for the EN5420. The standard is plus or less 20%, and with a delay of 300 seconds. And finally, we perform the initial reset. So we made the flow setting. We adjust the flow setting. So at this point, the system is configured and ready to work. This operation is again only 5 minutes. Let's see in the details how we do it. So here we got this switches and selector on the main board. So we can select the class with the class switch, and then we select the number of holes with the hole switch. Again, for more information, you can check the documentation. Here we see in this slide, we can see, for example, if we choose a class B, we need to move this switch to B, and if we got 6 holes, we need to move the hole switch to 6 in this position, and that's all. How do we do the initial reset? So how we perform the airflow setup? So we need to use this the selector, the mode selector. We need to move the mode selector to 0, and then we need to press this button, the set button. And in about 100 seconds, the flow setup is ready. And then we have to move again the selector to one position, and we have to press the set button again. And then configuration is done for the airflow. You see the mode selector to 0, and you press the button. Of course, we need to take caution. Always is for all the SD, when we perform the initial reset, we have to be sure that the pipe is ready, so everything is fine, and we have to check the integrity of the pipe, and then if the installation is made as per the design. Then we can, on the ASD531, we can also set the relay mode. So if the relay has to be latching or non-latching, that is for alarm relay, fault relay, or if they are available also for the pre-signal relay. So you see there are like 4 dip switch. So on is latching, off is non-latching, alarm, fault, and pre-signal. Okay, we can also we can set the tolerance threshold for airflow monitoring by using another dip switch named airflow. As per default, for the N54PAL20 is set to off, so with the delay time of 300 seconds, so 5 minutes. But you can also move, you can set it differently. You can see all the possibilities, so 20%, 30%, 50 or 10%, and with different delay. Okay, now we move on to design with SD pipe flow software. That is for asymmetrical configuration, for design according to an FPA, so not only N54, and when using any other accessory in our catalog. Of course, this procedure can also be used for symmetrical configuration. So you can always use this one if you want, and I suggest to do it. As you can see in this example, we have an asymmetric configuration according to NFPA 72. The calculation carried out show the diameters of holes. You see here. And in red, we can see here all those key parameters that we will need for the configuration of the ASD. So we have the detector sensitivity. You see 0.389 in this example, % obscuration meter. The fan level, we got 3. In this example, if we use this ASD, we got 5 speed, 1 to 5. A different model got different speed. For example, ASD532 got 3 speed, and ASD531 only 1 speed. And then we see the maximum transport time. Transport time is the maximum transport time for the furthest hole on the pipe. That is important because we need to verify this parameter because there is a system limit that is 120 seconds. So in this case is 45 seconds. Okay, so we stop a little bit and we leave room for your questions. If there is any question, you can write and I can answer.
I've got a question, and one of those is: does the ASD pipe flow design software that you were talking about earlier need any license, or is it free and can be used by anybody, or does it
No. Yeah, okay.
instructions?
Yeah, the software is free. There is any license, so you can ask us. We can give the software to you. You can install in every PC, and it is for free. It is very also used to. It's very easy to use, so it's no costs for it.
And what about the ASD config programming software? Does it require any license to operate?
Yeah, for the SD config, you need to. There is a dongle, so you need to buy a dongle that is like it works like a license. But the dongle, once you can install in every PC, it works in every PC, and yes, you need. So the software is free, but you need to buy a dongle from us. Yes.
Okay. To program ASDs, which method do you suggest to use, the easy config mode or the ASD configuration software?
But whenever possible, I always suggest using the ASD pipe flow configuration and software because it is much more practical and allows you to quickly check and modify all the units parameter. However, if you find yourself in the condition of not having a PC, take into account the restriction I have mentioned. So with like accessory filters and so on, you can still configure the ASD with the easy config. So the best way is to use the software, but in the worst case, you can also use easy config.
I've got another important question. Can the ASDs, security on ASDs, be interfaced with any commercially available fire alarm control panel? So
yes, it is possible. Yes. Yes, it is possible to connect the ASD to any fire panel and by using the relay contacts. So as a standard on the main board, we got 2 relays. We got alarm relay. We got a fault relay. We can add also extra relay on extra with accessory board. But yes, you can interface our system to any existing fire alarm control panel.
And what about the configuration to day and night sensitivities? Is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. So you can configure different sensitivity during the day, for example, and during the night, but it is only permitted to use when you use the ASD configuration software. So it is not possible with the easy configure mode, and it is not possible on the ASD, the smallest one, ASD 531. Then there is only a day mode and not a night mode.
So when you use the XLM module in ASD, which message can be transported to securify a control panel? Yeah,
you got the general message. So you got all the different. You can distinguish all the different type of faults. You get all the alarms. You got also the pre-alarms. So you can distinguish. You got a lot of signal, and then most important, if you use the XLM module, that is our loop card, you can then through the panel and through the loop, you can configure completely the ASDs.
All right, thank you very much. We don't have any questions anymore, so maybe we would have some during the end of the webinar. So please continue. Thank you.
Okay. So let's see how we commission the ASD config when we use the software. So we made the designing with our ASD pipe flow. Then we switch on the ASD, fan revs up stepwise in 100 seconds. Then we open the ASD config software. We connect the PC to the ASD using a USB serial cable or Ethernet cable, depending on the ASD models. So the only one with the Ethernet port is ASD 532. All the other model got a USB port, and you use the USB cable like a printer cable. Then you select one of the program inside of the ASD. The program, they are called X01 or X02 or X03. There are 3 different programs you can use, and you enter sensitivity value for the detector and you set the fan speed. In our example, in the previous design, we had 0.389% obscuration meter of sensitivity, and the fan speed was 3. Then, after that, we set the date and time, and finally, we perform the initial reset for the airflow setting. At this point, the system is configured and is ready to work. Again, in 5 minutes, you can configure the unit, the basic configuration with the PC. So let's see how is the configuration software for the ASD 535, 533, 532. So in this screen, we can see all the various configuration steps with ASD config. So let's see in the details. Okay, first step, we establish a connection to the detector. Second, once we are connected, we select the program X01 or X02 or X03. Then we go to the parameter and we set the sensitivity for the alarm. Okay, here you see we got channel 1 and channel 2. Channel 1 we got day and night mode, because I told you that it's possible with the PC to configure them. And then I set the same because I got the same sensitivity in this case, so I write 0.389. Then I set the correct fan speed, you know, in this case is level 3, that is the default level for the ASD. Then I move down here and I write these parameters to the unit. Okay, once the writing is done, we can see all these blue symbol became green. That means that configuration is aligned. So what you got on the PC is what you got on the detector. Then the last 2 steps, I open extra menu. I synchronize the time with the PC. So I set the date and time. And last but not least, I perform the initial reset. So I configure the airflow. I made the airflow setup. Okay. Of course, we can configure many other parameters, but this is not the subject of this webinar, as we only focus on the basic configuration. Of course, as I said before, the software is always the best way to configure the SD system, because it also allows you to make the most of all the features of the device. So you can see memory event, you can configure pre-alarms, and you can set up whatever you want. Okay, let's see how it is the commissioning process with ASD 531 if we use ASD pipe flow, because we said we don't have the PC, we cannot use the PC. So the procedure is very similar to other ASDs. The only difference is the way in which we configure it, because as I said, I cannot use the PC, but I have to enter the parameter from the SD pipe flow. So what do? Again, we switch on the SD. In 1 second, the SD is ready. Then we select the sensitivity range from the SD pipe flow. For example, in this case, is 0.337. This data come from the SD configuration software. In this case, is like in the class A. And then we use 2 rotary switches, class and holes, on the motherboard, according to the table value that we see in the next slide. Then we set the tolerance threshold like before for the easy config, for the airflow. And last, we perform the initial reset. Okay, so let's see the table with all the sensitivity allowed for this unit. Okay, so now the difference is we are not just selected the class and the number of volts, but we just find out the value inside of the unit that is matched with the value from the ASD pipe flow from the designing software. So in this case, I can find this value in this chart. That is like, how do I set it? I check the class rotary switch. I put the rotary switch in position 2, so this column, and then I set the whole rotary switch to value to A, you know, on this line. So, and then I set this value 0.337. Okay, so the class now is not like class A, B, C. It doesn't matter. I just put in position 2, and the holes doesn't matter. It's not related to the number of holes, but just to find out the right value of sensitivity. So I put it to A here in this position. So in this way, the set is done. Okay. So last but not least, we have to carry out a functional test at the end of the configuration to check that everything is working properly according to the design parameters. To do this, we need to carry out a smoke test, so real smoke, using smoke pens or smoke tablets. We don't use the spray because spray is not good for, is not the right method for the SD system. And then we stand on the farthest hole of each branch, and we verify that the detectors go into alarm in the specified time, so in the transport time. So we need to verify the transport time and then the alarm. I told you again, the maximum transport time, even both for the EN54 or NFPA72, is 120 seconds. But then you need to check to your design. If in your design you specify 48 seconds, we are supposed to have an alarm in more or less for 48 seconds or 50 seconds. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. And you can follow up to LinkedIn or Instagram. So if you get any other question, you can, yeah, there is like a room for them.
I've got some questions, and one of them is it possible to program relays other than the alarm fault relay?
Yeah, yes. So the standard configuration is like alarm from the, you know, with the sensitivity from the design and general fault. But you can, if you add a module, an extra module, an accessory, you can add up to 10 relays, and you can configure pre-alarms. You can configure alarm 2 that is the lowest sensitivity we can have. You can configure different type of faults, for example, airflow fault, fan fault. So you can have like more signal, so you can have more interface to your fire alarm panel. Yes.
I've got another question. Is it possible to reset the ASD via an external reset input?
Yes, it is possible, and it is the way I suggest you to do. So because the alarm and the fault are generally latching in the latching mode, but we got a specific input to all our ASD. It's called a reset input, and you can use it to reset the to make an external reset from your fire panel from your panel. So with the module, with the relay module, you can interface it, so you can have an external reset input. Yes.
All right, thank you. And is it possible to program flow verification tolerance thresholds other than the standard ones?
Yes, you can. So if you use easy config for the, it's not possible. It's fixed, so you cannot modify. But if you use a configuration ASD config, you can modify them. The exception is ASD 531 that, as you can see, you can adjust them with the deep switch.
Okay. Another question, do the security on ASD detectors have an event memory? If yes, how can it be consulted?
Yes. There are, in all models, there are a memory event. And so it's you can look at it through the ASD configuration software. That is the easiest way, or you can check the events with the code and the manual through the easy config mode through the 3-digit display. For the ASD 531, you need to use an SD card, so you can put SD card into the detector, and then you can copy the memory event of the detector, and then you can check with your PC.
Okay, thank you. And I've got still another question. In case of problems, is it possible to record the data log of air and smoke flows?
Yes, you can. So in difficult situation where we got false alarm or faults and we don't know exactly what's going on, we can record the data log both for the airflow and for the smoke. And we can record up to 2 months and using the SD card. So we insert the SD card into the detector. We leave it there for a while, for 1 week or 2 weeks or even 2 months. Then we remove the SD card, and with using our PC, we can check all the data log of the cures. So we can determine the reason of the faults or the false alarm, and you can make you can adapt the modification to the configuration, for example.
Okay, thank you very much. We don't have any further questions, so we will stay online just in case we get any. Or otherwise, we will be closing the webinar in 2 minutes' time.
Okay.
There's a question that just come in. If you want to use Detector to specify the smoke from which branch, so it looks like it's an addressing question somebody's asking. Is it possible to change the sensitivity of the SSD to match the sensitivity? So
No, it's not possible because the sensitivity of the detector into the array key are fixed, but you can select from 2 different sensitivity because we got 2 different model, and you have to try to match the sensitivity of the system, but we cannot modify the sensitivity of the point detector in the array key. But they are all with very high sensitivity, so most of the time you got the first alarm you got is from the array key detector, but we cannot adjust it.
Thank you.